Lift up your heart and praise. Lift up your hands and praise. Lift up your voice and praise.
And Moshe said, Hear, O Yisrael, Yahweh your Elohim, Yahweh is one, and you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I'm commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way, when you lie down and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And Shabbat Shalom to everyone worshiping with us at home. It's a blessing to be here this Shabbat, amen. The name of the message today is called, I'll Take Door Number 2. All right, now, how many of you are familiar with the show, Let's Make a Deal? Yeah, see, the older you are, the more familiar you are with that. But it was a lot of fun. And it was, everybody would dress up in these crazy outfits, so hopefully they would get picked over other people. But the show was based on a formula for giving contestants something of value, like money or a cruise or keys to something or something like that. And then tempting them with the potential to get something bigger, better, more valuable. All right? And by getting them to try for something, though, that they could not see. See, that's the thing. You couldn't see what the thing was. It was usually in a large box, or it was behind door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. And sometimes, just to make things even harder, they would open up one of the doors to let you see, oh, I'm glad I didn't take that one. It was always the thing that you didn't want to take that was in the door they opened up. Sometimes you get a better prize, but sometimes it did not turn out so good. You might win a goat or a set of his and hers galvanized wash tubs or something like that, and you just forfeited the cruise. You do all that. But do you know what made the show work so well? The show worked so well because it appeals to the greedy nature of human beings. Now, it did. And don't get me wrong, there are other things that made the show fun to watch. But make no mistake, the show was about getting something for nothing and the fear and shame associated with losing it all. That's what it was about. It was a great formula for a game show because when it comes to human beings, there is rarely a shortage of greed from which you can capitalize. All right? And even though human beings seem to be quite greedy by nature, we just love watching it when somebody else's greed gets the best of them, don't we? That's why we like watching that show. All right. Now, my message today, though, is not so much about greed as it is about trusting in Yahweh. All right? And about how much smarter He is than we. So He knows what's behind door number 1, 2, and 3. Now, and the reason I bring up this game show is because of how well it really illustrates the scenario that we sometimes find ourselves in, where we think that we only have 1 or 2 options that are either behind door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. Do you ever do that? I do. Yeah, I have to cross my arms up here and say, yeah, I do that. Do you ever pray and ask for Yahweh's guidance on which of the doors to pick, and all of a sudden an opportunity presents itself that you never thought of, much less knew was there? Does that ever happen? Amen. You may only see one option, even worse, only one bad option. Been there. And all of a sudden we learned that Yahweh had a better idea. Hallelujah. Yep. I praise Yahweh. I love it when that happens. Amen. All right. Now, that's because Yahweh is smarter than us. And I sure am glad He is. Oh, man. I sure am glad he is. Another reason that I bring this up about the game show is how many of us at some point in our lives have, for whatever reason, whether we've gotten ourselves in some kind of dilemma or there's something that we want really, really badly or whatever, and at that point in time we say, okay, Yahweh, let's make a deal. So you wouldn't be laughing if you couldn't relate to that. All right. I've done that. Have you? Yeah, let's make a deal. Now, do you realize how really disrespectful that is to him? It is. He is sovereign. He is sovereign. He is to be served and obeyed. All right? And I don't want to pick door number 3 just to find out that there's a lake of fire behind it. I mean, all right. But back to picking the doors. Sometimes we're so busy picking doors because we're not really trusting Yahweh like we need to. All right? Turn with me to Proverbs chapter 3. Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 3. We're going to be on page 729 in the 98 ISR. Proverbs chapter 3, and we're going to start reading in verse, let's see, 5. Trust in Yahweh with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Know Him in all your ways, and He makes your paths straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahweh and turn away from evil. All right, let's look at another place here. Psalm 37. Psalm 37. And for all of you that were so smart to figure out it was going to start in verse 5 a while ago, we'll start in verse 5 again. Psalm 37, verse 5. Commit your way to Yahweh and what? Trust in Him. All right? And He does it. And He shall bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your right ruling as midday. Rest in Yahweh and wait patiently for Him. Do not fret because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man doing wicked devices. Abstain from displeasure and forsake wrath. Do not fret also to do evil, for evildoers are cut off. But those who wait on Yahweh, they shall inherit the earth. Hallelujah. Some of this sounds like some of the same things that YHWH said. Amen. Very similar. See, Yahweh sees us and He wants us to wait on Him. Now, look over here in Isaiah chapter 40. Look at a couple of these. YHWH chapter 40. It's going to be on page 444. Yep. Isaiah chapter 40. We're going to start reading in verse 27. Why do you say, O Yaakov, and speak, O Yisrael, my Elohim? Do you not know? Have you not heard? The everlasting Elohim, Yahweh, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. I told you He was smarter than us. He gives power to the faint, and to those who have no might, He increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who wait on Yahweh renew their strength. They raise up the wing like eagles. They run and are not weary. They walk and do not faint. And then there's one more. It's in Proverbs. It's just one verse. You can turn there if you want to. It's Proverbs 15:3. And it says, the eyes of Yahweh are in every place, watching the evil and the good. All right. So, I want to look at some things today where Yahweh did things differently than the person thought, and also maybe where we or they took a door that should have left it closed. Okay? What we're going to look at now is one of my favorite accounts in the Scripture. 2 Kings chapter 5. We're going to be on page 385. Now, the Hebrew pronunciation for this gentleman is Naaman. You're probably familiar with hearing him called Naaman. All right, but as we read this, you'll know who we're talking about. 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 1. And Naaman, the commander of the army of the sovereign of Aram, was a great man in the eyes of his master, and highly respected because by him Yahweh had given deliverance to Aram. And he was a brave man, but leprous. And the Arameans had gone out on raids and had brought back captive a young girl from the land of Israel, and she served the wife of Naaman. And she said to her mistress, "If only my master were with the prophet who is in Shomeron," it'd be Samaria, "then he would recover him of his leprosy." And Naaman went in and reported to his master, saying, "Thus and thus spoke the girl who is from the land of Israel." And the sovereign of Aram said, "Go, enter, and let me send a letter to the sovereign of Israel." And he went and took with him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of garments. Kind of looks like gold's easier to come by than garments, doesn't it? And he brought the letter to the sovereign of Israel, which said, "And now, when the letter comes to you, see, I have sent Naaman my servant to you, so that you shall recover him of his leprosy." And it came to be, when the sovereign of Israel read the letter, that he tore his garments and said, "Am I Elohim to kill and keep alive, that this man sends a man to me to recover him of leprosy? For consider now and see how he is seeking an occasion with me." And it came to be, when Elisha, the man of Elohim, heard that the sovereign of Israel had torn his garments, that he sent to the sovereign, saying, "Why have you torn your garments? Please, let him come to me, so that he knows that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariot, and he stood at the entrance of the house of Elisha. Can you see this? Can you see this big entourage pulling up? The chariot and all the horses and everything, and he's out. I bet Elisha probably had a pretty modest little house, you know. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, "Go, and you shall wash 7 times in the Jordan, that your flesh might be restored to you and be clean." All right, and look what Naaman does, because remember, he's somebody. He is somebody. And this little prophet down here in this country that's bowing down to us won't even come out of his little house, but he sends his servant out there to talk to the man. Verse 11. But Naaman became wroth, and he went away and said, "See, I said to myself, he would certainly come out to me," see there, "and stand and call on the name of Yahweh, his Elohim, and wave his hands over the place and recover the leprosy." That would be pretty impressive to see that happen, wouldn't it? Because, you know, he has built this up in his mind. He thought what was supposed to be behind door number 1, didn't he? Or whatever the word is. Verse 12. "Are not the Abana and the Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, that'd be Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them to be clean?" And he turned and went away in a rage. It just cracks me up. And his servants came near and spoke to him and said, "My father, if the prophet had spoken to you a great matter, would you not have done it? How much more then when he says to you, wash and be clean?" That's somebody with some insight, isn't it? You know? Then he went down and dipped 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of Elohim. And his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of Elohim, he and all his company, and came and stood before him and said, See, now I know that there is no Elohim in all the earth except in Yisrael. And now, please take a gift from your servant. But he said, As Yahweh lives, before whom I stand, I do not accept it. And he pressed on him to accept it, but he refused. Then Naaman said, If not, please, let your servant... Now see what he's turned into? He was a man of name. Now he says, let your servant, all right, be given 2 mule loads of what? Earth, dirt. For no longer is your servant going to make a burnt offering and a slaughtering to other mighty ones, but to Yahweh. See, we just had a conversion right here, amen. Yahweh, grant forgiveness to your servant in this matter. When my master goes into the house of Rimmon, of course he's making a deal here. When my master goes into the house of Rimmon to worship there, and he leans on my hand, and I bow down in the house of Rimmon, when I bow down in the house of Rimmon, Yahweh, please grant forgiveness to your servant in this matter. And then he said to him, Go in peace. And when he had gone from him some distance, but Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of Elohim, this would have been the fellow that went out and told him what to do, said to himself, Look, my master has spared Naaman, this Aramean, while not receiving from his hand what he brought. But as Yahweh lives, I shall run after him and take whatever from him. And Gehazi pursued Naaman, and when Naaman saw him running after him, he came down from the chariot to meet him and said, Is there peace? And he said, Peace, my master has sent me, saying, he just told why. Look, even now 2 young men of the sons of the prophets have come to me from the mountains of Ephraim. Please give them a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. And Naaman said, Please accept 2 talents. And he urged him and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of garments and handed them to 2 of his servants, and they bare them ahead of him. And when he came to the high place, he took them from their hand and stored them away in the house and let the men go, and they went. And he went in and stood before his master. And Elisha said to him, Where did you go, Gehazi? And he said, Your servant did not go anywhere. But he said to him, Did not my heart go with you when the man turned back from the chariot to meet you? Is it time to accept silver and to accept garments and olive trees and vineyards and sheep and cattle and male and female servants? So let the leprosy of Naaman cling to you and your descendants forever. And he went out from him as leprous as snow. He got to his and hers galvanized tubs, didn't he? Or worse. Worse. All right. See, Gehazi decided to play, let's make a deal, and he gambled with what was behind door number 1, 2, or 3. When he should have been content rather than letting his greed get the best of him. It's an amazing thing. A heathen of name and power, no less, humbles himself before Yahweh, and he is healed. The servant of the prophet of Elisha raises himself up and is stricken. Lamentations chapter 3. Ekah chapter 3, page 796. And the 98 ISR. This is maybe what Gehazi should have been thinking about. Verse 24. Yahweh is my portion, says my being. Therefore I wait for him. Yahweh is good to those waiting for him, to the being who seeks him. It is good both to wait and to be silent for the deliverance of Yahweh. Ain't that the truth? Now, This next passage, we're going to read the whole chapter of Luke chapter 12. All right? This whole passage is pretty much all about trusting in Yahweh and revering Yahweh and serving Yahweh at all times without let's make a deal. It's also too bad that Gehazi didn't think about some of this. All right, Luke chapter 12. Starting in verse 1. Meanwhile, an innumerable crowd of people had gathered together so that they trampled one another. He began to say to his taught ones first, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. And whatever is concealed shall be revealed, and whatever is hidden shall be known. So whatever you have said in the dark shall be heard in the light, and what you have spoken in the ear in the inner room shall be proclaimed on the housetops. But I say to you, my friends, do not be afraid of those who kill the body, and after that are unable to do any more. But I shall show you whom you should fear. Fear the one who, after killing, possesses the authority to cast into Gehenna. Yea, I say to you, fear him. We don't make a deal with him, I mean. We just agree to serve him. All right. Are not 5 sparrows, verse 6, sold for 2 copper coins, and not one of them is forgotten before Elohim, but even the hairs of your head have all been numbered. Do not fear. You are worth more than many sparrows, and I say to you, everyone who confesses me before men, the son of Adam, shall confess him before the messengers of Elohim, but he that has denied me before men shall be denied before the messengers of Elohim. And everyone who shall speak a word against the son of Adam, it shall be forgiven him. But to him who has blasphemed against the set-apart Spirit, it shall not be forgiven. And when they bring you to the congregations and rulers and authorities, do not worry about how or what you should answer or what you should say. For the set-apart Spirit shall teach you in that very hour what you should say. And someone from the crowd said to him, Teacher, speak to my brother to divide the inheritance with me. But he said to him, Man, who made me a judge or a divider over you? And he said to them, Mind and beware of greed, because one's life does not consist in the excess of his possessions. He then spoke a parable to them, saying, The land of a certain, what's that next word? 2 words, rich man yielded well. All right, now. See, he's already rich. When we start telling this parable, he's already rich before the land yielded well. Okay? He's already rich. All right, verse 17. And he was reasoning with himself, saying, What shall I do? Because I have no room to store my crops. And he said, I'm going to do this. Pull down my storehouses and build greater, and store all my crops and my goods there. And then say to myself, Life, you have many goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and rejoice. But Elohim said to him, You mindless one, this night your life shall be demanded from you, and you shall own what you have prepared. Wow. So is he who is storing up treasure for himself and is not rich toward Elohim. You see, he took the wrong door, and his greed got him what was behind that door. All right? Rather than holding on to the keys or the cruise tickets, he was going after something more. And he said to his taught ones, verse 22, For this reason I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you shall eat, nor about the body, what you shall put on. The life is worth more than the food, and the body is more than the clothing. Look at the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap, which have neither storehouse nor granary, and Elohim feeds them. How much more valuable are you than the birds? And which of you by worrying is able to add 1 cubit to his lifespan? If then you are unable to do the least, why do you worry about the rest? Look at the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, and I say to you, even Shalomo in all his esteem was not dressed like one of these. And if Elohim so clothes the grass, which today exists in the field, and tomorrow is thrown into the furnace, how much more you, O you of little belief? And do not seek what you shall eat or what you shall drink, and do not keep worrying. For the Gentiles of the world seek all these, and your Father knows that you need these. But seek the reign of Elohim, and all these shall be added to you. Do not fear, little flock, because your Father did delight to give you the rain. Sell your possessions and give in kindness. Make yourselves purses which do not grow old, a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief does come near, nor moth destroy. For where your treasure is, there your heart shall be also. Let your loins be girded and your lamps burning, and be like men waiting for their master, when he shall return from the wedding. And when he comes and knocks, they open to him immediately. Blessed are those servants whom the master, when he comes, shall find watching. Truly I say to you, that he shall gird himself and make them sit down to eat, and shall come and serve them. And if he comes in the second watch, or in the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants. And know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief comes, he would have watched and not allowed the house to be broken into. And you then be ready, for the Son of Adam is coming at an hour you do not expect. And Cephas said to him, that'd be Peter, Master, do you speak this parable to us, or also to all? And the master said, Who then is the trustworthy and wise manager, whom his master shall appoint over his household to give the portion of food in due season? Blessed is the servant whom his master shall find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you that he shall appoint him over all his possessions. But if that servant says in his heart, My master is delaying in his coming, and begins to beat the male servants and female servants, and to eat and drink and be drunk, the master of that servant shall come on a day when he does not expect him, and in an hour that he does not know, and shall cut him in two, and appoint his portion with the unbelievers. And that servant who knew his master's desire and did not prepare, nor did according to his desire, shall be beaten with many stripes. He took the wrong door, didn't he? We don't need to stop acting like our master is delaying. Amen. All right. Verse 48. But he who did not know, yet did what deserved flogging, shall be beaten with few. And everyone to whom much is given, from him much shall be demanded, and to whom much has been entrusted, from him much more shall be asked. I came to send fire on the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled, but I have an immersion to be immersed with, and how distressed I am until it is accomplished. Do you think that I came to give peace on earth? I say to you, no, but rather division. For from now on, 5 in one house shall be divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. Father shall be divided against son, and son against father, mother against daughter, and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And he also said to the crowds, When you see a cloud rising out of the west, immediately you say, A storm is coming, and so it is. And when you see the south wind blow, you say, There shall be hot weather, and it is. Hypocrites, do you not discern the face of the heaven and the earth? But how is it that you do not discern this time? And why also do you not judge for yourself what is right? For as you go with your opponent to a ruler, try hard along the way to settle with him, lest he drag you to the judge, and the judge deliver you to the officer, and the officer throw you into the prison. I say to you, you shall certainly not leave there until you have paid even the last mite. See, we cannot be indifferent towards Elohim, acting like he's there just to simply grant our wishes. You know, when we let him out of the bottle, or will him into our presence. You know what I'm talking about when I say that? Talking about when you just kind of forget he's there, and then you just, when you need him for something, you just say, Yahweh, I need to see you a minute. That's not how he operates. He's not there just to grant our desires. It's the other way around. It's the other way around. He is sovereign, and He is not there for deal making. Another thing too, do we ever act ashamed, or maybe not outright ashamed, but try to keep our belief to ourselves as so as to better fit in with friends and co-workers and acquaintances, etc.? Don't put your hand up. You know, because we're trying to keep our options open, kind of thing. Look with me, Mark chapter 8. As if we were working some other kind of deal. Mark chapter 8, we're going to start reading in verse 34, so we're going to be on page 965. Mark 8, verse 34. And calling near the crowd with his taught ones, he said to them, Whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his stake and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life shall lose it, but whoever loses his life for the sake of me and the good news, he shall save it. For what shall it profit a man if he gains all the world and loses his own life? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his life? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinning generation, of him the Son of Adam also shall be ashamed when he comes in the esteem of his Father with the set-apart messengers. All right? So, it doesn't look like Yahshua's into making a deal here either. Like, I need a little cover. You know, I want to kind of fit in with everybody, and, you know, we need to proclaim Him everywhere we go. Amen? Everywhere we go. Galatians chapter 6. Galatians chapter 6, page 1131. We'll start reading in verse 5. Galatians 6, verse 5. For each one shall bear his own burden, and let him who is instructed in the word share in all that is good with him who is instructing. Do not be led astray. Elohim is not mocked, for whatever a man sows, that he shall also reap. Because he who sows to his own flesh shall reap corruption from the flesh, but he who sows to the Spirit shall reap everlasting life and from the Spirit. And let us not lose heart in doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not grow weary. So then, as we have occasion, let us do good to all, especially to those who are of the household of the belief. And a verse one verse, Proverbs 28:9 says, He who turns away his ear from hearing the Torah, you know what the rest of it is? Even his prayer is an abomination. All right. So I have to wonder if it's okay to just act like you're hard of hearing when it comes to the Torah. No, I don't think that's going to work out real well. Now, here's an example of a person thinking that there are only two options, but Yahshua opens the door, number 3. All right? Actually, he does several unexpected things. John chapter 4. John chapter 4. We're going to start reading verse 3, page 1020. He left Yehuda, that's Judah, and went away to Galilee, and he had to pass through Shomeron, Samaria. So he came to a city of Shomeron called Shechem, near the piece of land Yaakov gave to his son Yosef. And Yaakov's fountain was there. So Yeshua, being weary from the journey, was sitting thus at the fountain. It was about the 6th hour. A woman of Shomeron came to draw water, and Yeshua said to her, Give me to drink. For his taught ones had gone off into the city to buy food. And the woman of Shomeron therefore said to him, How is it that you, being a Yehudit, a Jew, ask a drink of water from me, a woman of Shomeron. For Yehudim do not associate with the Shemeronites. And Yahshua answering said to her, if you knew the gift of Elohim, then who it is who says to you, give me a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. The woman said to him, Master, you have no vessel, and the well is deep. From where then do you have living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well, and drank from it himself, and his sons and his cattle? And Yahshua answered and said to her, everyone drinking of this water shall thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water I give him shall certainly never thirst. And the water that I give him shall become in him a fountain of water, springing up into everlasting life. The woman said to him, Master, give me this water, so that I do not thirst, nor come here to draw. And Yahshua said to her, go, call your husband and come here. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Yahshua said to her, you have well said, I have no husband. For you've had 5 husbands, and the one whom you now have is not your husband. What you have said is true. The woman said to him, Master, I see that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you people say that in Jerusalem is the place where one needs to worship. And Yahshua said to her, Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you shall neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. Verse 22, you worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, because the deliverance is of the Yehudim. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father also does seek such to worship Him. Elohim is spirit, and those who worship Him need to be worshipped in spirit and truth. And the woman said to him, I know that Messiah is coming, the one who is called Anointed. When that one comes, He shall announce to us all. And Yahshua said to her, I who am speaking to you am He. And upon this His taught ones came, and they were marveling that He was speaking with a woman. However, no one said, What do you seek? Or why do you speak with her? The woman then left her water jug and went away to the city and said to the men, Come, see a man who told me all that I have done. Is this not the Messiah? They went out of the city and were coming to Him. But in the meantime, His taught ones were asking Him, saying, Rabbi, eat. He said to them, I have food to eat which you do not know. Then the taught ones said to each other, Did anyone bring Him food to eat? And Yahshua said to them, My food is to do the desire of Him who sent me, and to accomplish His work. Do not say, There are still 4 months, and the harvest comes. See, I say to you, lift up your eyes and see the fields, for they are white for the harvest already. He who is reaping receives a reward and gathers fruit for everlasting life, so that both he who is sowing and he who is reaping rejoice together. For in this the word is true. One sows, another reaps. I sent you to reap that for which you have not labored. Others have labored, and you have entered into their labors. And many of the Shemeronites of that city believed in Him because of the word of the woman who witnessed, He told me all that I have done. Therefore, when the Shemeronites came to Him, they were asking Him to stay with them, and He stayed there 2 days. That's remarkable in and of itself, you know it. And many more believed because of His word. And they said to the woman, We no longer believe because what you said, for we ourselves have heard, and we know that this is truly the Messiah, the Savior of the world. And after the 2 days, He left there and went to Galilee. Isn't it amazing that the Jews couldn't see that He was the Messiah, but the Samaritans, who they hated, could see it so crystal clear. And you know what? I'm really glad that Yahweh is smarter than me, because He comes up with things that I can't think of. And He did the same thing here through Yahshua, and He does it again and again in our lives. You know, Malachi 3:6 says, For I am Yahweh, I shall not change, and you, O sons of Yaakov, shall not come to an end. I want you to read one verse in James chapter 1, and then I want to turn to Luke chapter 11. So let's look in James chapter 1. Everybody in James? Verse 17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no change nor shadow of turning. And look at what Yeshua says here in Luke chapter 11, starting in verse 9. Luke chapter 11, page 996, verse 9. And I say to you, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened to you. For everyone asking receives, and he who is seeking finds, and to him who is knocking it shall be opened. Aren't you glad that we don't have to make deals with Yahweh? He loves us and He wants us to prosper, but He wants it done according to His will. All right? So before we try to make any deals with Yahweh, let's regard Him as the loving, sovereign Father that He is. And remember this passage that we read a while ago, Proverbs chapter 3. Let's turn back there one more time. All of you know what verse starts with. Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5. Trust in Yahweh with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Know Him in all your ways, and He makes your path straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahweh and turn away from evil. Yevroteka Yahweh va'ishmareka ya'er Yahweh panavaleka bikuneka Yasa Yahweh panavaleka v'yasem lakash shalom. Yahweh bless you and guard you. Yahweh make His face to shine upon you and show favor to you. Yahweh lift up His face upon you and give you His complete contentment.